right, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in to Almost Above Average with Chris McIntyre. And this week, I had an absolute pleasure to have Chaplain Anthony James on. He is the author of The Millionaire's Brother, which is, if you're watching on video, you can see it right there. And the title tells a little bit of a story, which is what I thought the book was going to be all about. So the title is called The Millionaire's Brother. And the author of this book he had 6 siblings, I believe. But his brother ended up going to the NBA and winning a championship. And I thought this whole book was going to be about that. But the story that's in this book, and then just getting the chance to have him on the podcast, I'm truly grateful for. The story he shared was very vulnerable, and it covers a lot of ground. It covers growing up. He grew up in a great family and just started making some bad choices and running with the wrong crowd kind of thing. And all these different things that he goes through leads him to the path of being a chaplain and giving back to the community. So the story was great. Check out the book if you can, The Millionaire's Brother, Overcoming the Addictions of Life. But, I mean, just get to know the man. He's a chaplain. He's out there in the community doing good things. And that's the exact type of person that I'm trying to have on Almost Above Average. So let's go now to the conversation with Chaplain Anthony James. The Chaplain James.
What's going on?
How are you?
Man, I'm blessed. I can't complain, man. It's all good. Just got off work not too long ago, man. Ready for my little break, a little 2-week break. So
you coming back after the New Year's?
For sure. I work for a nonprofit organization, and they pretty much they look out for me. So I'm blessed to be with this organization. So 2 weeks off with pay. So I'm great.
Ooh, you can't beat that at all.
Not at all, man. So we know when you take care.
You got any big plans for the holiday?
You take care of the people that's pushing for you. That's how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? They honor us, and so they know the work I put in, dealing with mental health, and I drive and do a lot of stuff, different stuff. So they really take care of their people.
What is the name of that nonprofit?
Arise Collective.
Arise Collective.
What I do, I caught organizational driver, women that come home from prison. I take them to program, do different things with them like that. And so just helping them navigate back into society. This organization really does a lot for these women, and they're here to stay. They're definitely here to stay because they definitely going to be in business until Jesus come back, because it's a huge need for it. And what they do is a reentry situation where they come back to society. They help them navigate housing, transportation, food, and different things like that. Some of them females in college, they doing some really big things.
That's awesome. How did you get involved with that nonprofit?
Well, I actually connected with them I worked with one of the supervisors. I was a site monitor at the methadone clinic, and another person connected with her. She got a new position with this organization. So they found out that I was a driver and they needed a driver. They offered me a nice deal, so I jumped right on it. You know what I mean? Jumped right on it. It's very flexible for me, so I'm able to do my own stuff as well. So it definitely hooked up with my purpose. It's all connected to what I'm doing.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. This is the second time we're recording this because we had some technical difficulties the first round. After we were done recording, it only recorded 6 minutes of you. So the whole thing, when I was going to edit it, it was just me by myself talking to no one. I was like, what the heck is going on? So I had to send a support ticket to the platform and see what was going on, see if I could recover that content that we recorded. And they were like, it's lost. We really apologize, but if you want it again, you're going to have to do it again. So I appreciate you doing it again. I know it's kind of annoying, but
no, it's not.
It's just one of those things.
Things happen. And the good thing, you said you lost the content, but you didn't lose the content of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Exactly. You're repeatable. We can get you on the podcast as long as you're willing. You know what I mean? All right. So I want to go back through. So you're Chaplain James, but I wanted before we even talk about the book, I wanted you to tell your story. Where did you come from? How did you grow up? And what led you into the field you're in now?
Right. And the funny thing is, everything is, I don't believe in coincidence. Everything is divine. I put on this shirt this morning. This is where I'm from, Amityville. It's where I'm from.
There we go.
You know what I mean? Amityville and New York. It's in New York, Long Island, New York. I was born and raised in Amityville, New York. 7 out of 7 kids. You know, my mom wasn't a single family home, 2 family home, very structured, very Christianese. You know what I mean? We just had morals. We was raised with morals and values. So I came from good stock. I didn't come from well, every family to me has some type of brokenness, but to the point of hardworking. They showed us, they didn't teach us how to use drugs. They didn't teach us how to drink alcohol. They didn't teach us how to do a lot of those things. I learned all of those things on my own. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, it was a strict situation. We had curfews. You know, we had, when the light post went on, we had to be in the yard. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the yard a lot of times. You know what I mean? Because I was curious George. And because I saw things I thought I wanted to do or liked or got influenced by. And so I had a great childhood. Never missed a Christmas, never missed the Easter. We celebrated, and we were poor. I didn't know it. And I don't consider myself as being a poor. When your parents could, regardless of what they could afford, their house is paid for today. You know, they bought their house in the 60s, you know what I mean? Which they paid their house off, you know, all of them out of the household, you know what I mean? I just made decisions that was not conducive to my growth and development where I was. I made some, so I can't blame any of this on my mom. I can't blame any of this on my dad. No, I can't blame none of what I went through on anybody but wrong decision making.
Right.
That's what I attribute all what I've been through. And I've been through a lot. I've been drug addicted, prison, you know, I shot, stabbed, you know, police brutality to my book, you know, so yeah, a lot, and that's what drove me. I never knew I went to church all my life. I got prophesied to so many times, telling me what God is calling me to do. I didn't believe it one bit because I just didn't believe at that time. I didn't understand what that was about. Plus, when you're doing wrong, you ain't thinking about that stuff anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you contradict, you know.
It's a lot of shame when you're doing bad things and you believe in God, right?
Right. And, you know, not even shame. To be honest with you, I wasn't ashamed of doing anything wrong, but I wasn't ashamed. You know, I was just, that I had was, I knew I didn't want to make my family look bad. You know what I mean? So I wound up staying away from them when I was doing in the street stuff. I stayed away from them. I didn't want them to bother me. I didn't want to bother them. I just dealt with whatever wounds I had. I just licked my wounds.
Right. Curiosity is, I kind of just made the, you're saying that. The fact, I'm a curious person too, and that has led me into a lot of trouble. Addiction is one of them, but, you know, a lot of you've done in your book, I did a version of, you know, back home. And it stems from being curious. I also grew up in a good home. I had a good family, good values. My parents don't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do drugs. They were, by all intents and purposes, perfect parents for me. And for whatever reason, I was more susceptible. I looked up my older brothers. So they were much older than me, 8, 9 years older than me. So when I saw them doing things like smoking weed, drinking alcohol, getting girls, that's what I wanted. That's what I thought I wanted to do. Like, I thought that was the thing I was supposed to do. And ultimately that led me down a dark path. Similar to yours, I just didn't end up in prison. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is that you don't know where it's going to end you up. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go to prison. Who wants to go to prison? Who wants to be shot on drugs? Who wants to be an alcoholic? You know, who wants to be negative? Nobody really wants to be, but, you know, you wind up you're becoming what you are doing. You know what I mean? And my dad drank alcohol, but he was like, he worked every day. So I didn't really look at that was being, now his attitudes now was kind of funky, you know what I mean, at times, because you got 7 kids that you got to take care of.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're an angry bird all the time because that's where all your money's going.
Yep, that's where all
And
your money's going. That's where all your patience is
right,
going.
and we
All
were
your
some
free time.
greedy kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ate, man, good. We played outside. We burnt energy off, so we ate good. We ate. You know
But
what I
with
mean?
seven in the house, you could kind of, if you could kind of get away with some stuff, right?
Right. Well, that's what happened. I'm the fourth child.
Okay.
So after the third child, I'm the fourth. My mom really like took a little break. I was a mama's boy. I used to hang with mom a lot because my dad, if you look at him wrong, man. And see, it was just different. And so, but I had three other older siblings. I
Hmm.
had two brothers and an older sister. They used to beat the crap out of me, man. Like bully me and go to the grocery stores. You better bring this cereal back. You better bring Captain Crunch back and all that crap. So I'm like, okay, okay, trying to please. I looked up to them,
Right.
but I got
Changed though in the middle in your book that the dynamic switched to where you were kind of in the boss of a sudden, right?
right because I had two. I had another sister. She passed away when she was 2 months old. So God gave my mom double for her trouble. Twin girls came after that.
Hmm.
And then my came. He was the last one. So I was older than him. So now I was like telling them what to do, you know what I mean? And watching over them.
Yeah.
Not so much telling them what to do, but making sure that they was good and no harm would come to them. You know what I mean? So I had to take on
Yeah.
that responsibility, until I got control and couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good big right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They didn't like my baby brother did not like it at all. He attributed to, yo, man, I hate you, man, because I wouldn't let him do the same things I was already doing. Because his
Right.
friends was into a lot of mischief. And I already been there, done that. And my dad, he didn't know the conversation that my dad had with me. If something happened to him, it's going to fall on me because I was influencing him.
Right.
Because he was watching me. You know what I
And there's
mean?
a hierarchy in the family, right? With between
Right.
oldest to youngest.
Sure. I kept him out of the streets all through nefarious things that happened to me. Even going to prison, I was still able to be around to, make sure doing the things I'm already doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Is that the brother that went to the NBA?
yeah, he
What
was the
is his
last.
name?
Mike James.
Mike James.
Yeah,
He
Mike
played
James.
for Raptors.
Yeah, he played several teams. He was a journeyman. He won a championship with Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
Um, he started on several teams. He was the man. He became the man because everybody thought I was going to the NBA for the most part. I had an older brother that played before us, but he wanted to be a school teacher and different things, but everybody thought he was going to do something as well. But I just believe sometimes the breaks don't happen. And then with me, I was a knucklehead. I didn't, everybody thought I was going to NBA. I didn't think so though. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's funny how everybody can think, but if you don't think it, you ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? So,
It's a funny thing manifesting.
right, because they didn't have the discipline that my baby brother had. When snow came, to shovel off a court and play on that one court and shoot shots
Yeah.
while everybody else was in the house freezing. He was out there with gloves on, shooting foul shots.
That's
And
awesome.
so that was his drive, and it was also his safe haven. He
Right.
used that as a safe haven to get out of certain things. So he locked into that. I never locked in like that because I was doing other things that took my focus off of being a professional athlete, period. Because I was an athlete. I played baseball, played football, played basketball, and I was in all sport because we were very
Hmm.
athletic back then. We lived my park place, one park place. So 100 feet from my house, I was in the park.
Nice.
So we played all day, every day. My mom, once my dad go to work, especially summertime, she's like, get up. She used to come home, get up out and clean this room, get out of here until your father come home. I was like 8 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon. So we just running wild. We running wild. You know what I'm saying? Just playing here. We on bikes. We doing this. We doing that. Not me. I played But for the most part, I'm in the adult scenery trying to make money
Right.
the wrong way.
Where do you
So,
think that comes from? Your desire to hustle versus just try to be a kid and play.
well, I got influence. I had an older cousin. He was very, he was at the top of his game in basketball. He was probably 5'8", could dunk the ball. He was very athletic. He was a phenomenon back then. But he was also a hustler. I didn't understand any of that, but our birthdays was around the same time in August. And he used to ride a
Hmm.
moped back in the day. Not too many people had those mopeds.
Right.
So at the end of the day, he used to come around. Birthday was August 1st. Here's the funny thing. My mom, I thought my birthday was August 5th until I got 15. And come to find out, my mother had so many kids, she probably just forgot. I was celebrating my birthday August 5th, and his birthday was August 20th. So we was both Leos. So he used to come around every August 5th and give me $20 worth of nickels. I never understood that, but I thought I was rich. I was like, whoa, I got $20 worth of nickels, man. So I was good. And he used to, and for whatever reason, Satan used that to lure me. And so he used to play basketball in the park, and everybody used to come and watch. They had the A court, they had the B court. And if you make it to the A court, you good. You know, I didn't make that to a few that, but he used to have me hold his drugs for him.
Mm.
I didn't know it
He
was
kind of
his.
groomed you. He kind of gave you those nickels, right?
Right. And then while he balled, he's like, hold this for me. And me, Curious George, looked in the pouch. And there was what I thought I wanted. I said, oh, I'm going to make some money. Because I knew guys were selling weed and doing this stuff already. So when I opened up the pouch, that was in there. And I was like, Eureka! Whoa! And so that's what happened. Once I grabbed some, because he didn't miss it because he had so much of it. And I took
Right.
some, and on my bus, man, we used to smoke weed on the bus, man. Actually got kicked out of school, regular school, in like the 8th grade.
Oh man.
When I say I was out of control, I was just doing stupid stuff. So they were just like, man, listen. They went to my mom and dad. They was like, yo, we don't know what to do with your son. Now, here's the deal. I was an A student, but I was a class clown. I wanted attention. And I believe that came from being the fourth child. Because I wasn't getting the attention that I needed from my dad.
Right.
I wanted my dad to see me, and he never saw me.
There's not a whole lot of time in a house with 7 kids or 6, 7 kids to have one-on-one time with either parent, right?
Right. But I didn't understand that as a kid.
Right.
I was like, man, I want to spend time with you, guy. But I didn't know he had to make ends meet. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
I was upset with that. So I almost like got into trouble to punish them, to punish him for not spending time.
Right. I relate with that feeling. It's like going wrong in the world where I'm going to take it out on you because I'm having trouble inside dealing with my own problems. It's kind of like projection, right?
And not realizing that all problems are going to really come on me because I'm going to have to really deal with it. They might have emotions about, me getting into trouble, but I was in basketball. When I say very good, never came to any game. They didn't go to anybody's games. So they never knew how good we were.
That's crazy.
We practice every day, all day until out and start doing other stuff. But I used to beat my brother. My baby brother went to the NBA. I used to beat him with a cigarette in my mouth. Like literally dunk on him with holding a cigarette like this and take a pull and just go through my legs and just dunk on him.
Oh man, that's gangster, super gangster.
I used to piss him off so bad because I used to hand him the ball in his chest after that.
Here you go.
But that was being arrogant.
Yeah, check. Yeah.
Right. Because I taught him, I trained him how to put the ball through his legs without keeping his head down as a point guard. I was a point guard. So he had to walk around to all 4 corners of the court and go through his legs. And when the ball went off his legs, he had to start all over from scratch again.
How is your relationship with all your brothers and sisters nowadays?
Well, to be honest with you, everybody's spread out.
Yeah.
different states. You know what I mean? So not it's really it's distant.
Yeah.
It's very distant. Everybody got their life. Everybody got this going on. Once in a while, we went to the NBA. He did something in Amityville called the Mike James Day. He
Hmm.
had a day for the community. And that's when we was to make it our business to come up to New York and all meet there. You know what I'm saying? And spend time together. He did that for almost 15, 16 years.
Little family reunion kind of thing.
Right. We made it into that.
That's great.
Because he had that day going, and we was like, okay, that's cool. Now we can plan around that day. We can come and. So if you're doing it like, the relationship is not going to be strong.
Right. Well, I mean, if you guys are meeting up every year, 16 years, that's pretty good. You guys close to me.
That's still one day.
Right. Right.
One day to try to cram all of that love together. It's just not. It's not genuine. See people for a whole year and not really communicate with people for a whole year, and then get together one time when there's so many other people that's involved in this day. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Feels
So
like
we
an
can't.
obligation more than a
Right.
reunion that you're excited for.
Right. So we couldn't really get intimate.
Okay. I gotcha. I mean, I guess to get more, you probably need to chat with one throughout the year, like,
For
just
sure.
touch base kind of stuff.
Right. Everybody's so busy. And I try to
Yeah.
tell my family, they say, you always coming up with these acronyms. I said, well, they're on point. Like busy to me, BUSY, being under yoke.
Oh man, I love that.
Right. When you're so busy, you don't have time for anybody.
Right.
So it keeps you always, oh, I gotta do this. I got a timeline, I got a deadline over here. So you don't really communicate with anybody but what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I
Being
mean?
under Satan's yoke.
Right.
That's a good one. You got any more?
Right. I got a whole bunch. I got a slew of things, man.
All right.
I keep a lot in my arsenal, man. I was just at the prison last night.
Okay.
I started a series called Walking, gonna be, destiny, your destiny is calling. So last night in the federal prison last night.
Is that like a program you're bringing to the prisons?
Right. Yes,
Okay.
curriculum. That's what I do.
And what does it entail?
It entails them life skills.
Okay.
It's based on life skills, which is possibly it entails them getting the certification of completion once they complete the 6-week course, and they're able to take that to the parole board to get less time.
Oh man, that's a big difference you're making in there then.
Huge difference, and I don't
Yeah.
get paid for it.
Right. Tell me about that. How did you become a chaplain? Why so passionate about going into prisons and trying to help these criminals?
Because I sat where they sit. I was a prisoner at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Through my journey, I went to prison. On through my life, almost 15 years of my life in prison.
Oof.
So I told God, a lot of times we think we can tell God, listen, when you tell God, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans, because he has the plan for your life and you have to agree with his plan for your life. So,
Right.
me coming a chaplain, I said if I got up and went to prison, I wouldn't even go see my mom.
Oh man.
That's how disgruntled I was, because, I got beat up by the police, by the COs and, correction officers very badly in prison. A lot of things that I hated myself for by making those decisions to land me in that position, because that's my parents was not about that life.
Right.
And I felt like I just tarnished my family because of the making. And so, but God was like, yeah, all right, whatever. I hear what you're saying, but you back into the prisons, like the Apostle Paul, serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Paul, what's his name?
The Apostle Paul.
Oh, Apostle. Sorry. He was a serial killer?
Yes, he was. He was killing Christians.
Okay.
He was cutting their heads off, because he that term, the wages of sin is death. He was
Damn.
judging them. He was judging them for what they were doing, and he's not the judge.
Right.
Because see, he was before Christ.
Mm-hmm.
The Apostle Paul was before Christ. But once he went to Christ, Christ says, you're persecuting me. He was on, matter of fact, he was on the way to Damascus with blood on his sword to kill another person. And that's when Christ knocked him off his beast, shined the light in his eye, blinded him. And he said, listen, you're persecuting me. Either you change up now or it's over for you. So that's when he changed. That's when he turned, he converted right then and there.
Nice. I need to reread that. I just started reading John again.
It's deep. It's really deep because people look at people's sin. I hear people always say the Apostle Paul his first name he was Saul, and he had his name changed because of that. Mm-hmm. He wrote most of the New Testament.
Paul did?
And even the disciples was afraid of him because they remembered his past.
He sounds like a bad dude.
Right, but he was.
Right. But he was saved, right? Hey, is your recording still going? Can you hear me?
Good? Yeah.
No, the recording button just went off for a second. Can you see it recording on your side?
Yeah.
Okay. It started recording again. Okay.
But Paul, everybody always looking at other people's sin, but I hear them reverence the Apostle Paul a lot, but he was a serial killer. And that's when he said the wages of sin is death. That means you can lie and die.
Right.
You can tell a little white lie and get the same charge he got for cutting people's heads off.
I get it.
There's no comparison with sin.
You can be an adulterer, or you can sleep with your neighbor's wife. It's this, or
same thing.
Yeah, I get it. Sin is sin, right?
And he said wages of it is death.
Huh.
So, but God had to let him know that's not me. You're passing judgment on people, so I have to shut you down.
And he's not the judge.
Right. So God let him know who the judge was.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting.
I was out
All right, let's go.
Well, I was out there in the street. I wasn't the Apostle Paul. I was like Robin Hood. I was helping people. I helped the underdog. Like whenever somebody got strung out on any drug and seen the drug dealer treat them bad, I would go after the drug dealer.
Nice.
So that was my heart. I fed in my house. I took our Oscar Mayer bologna and gave it to homeless people, winos, and got beat for it. And I said to my mom, I said, why are you beating me when y'all feed people, homeless people? And it was like, you're not paying for anything. You know what I mean? But
I still have a giving heart, Mom. These people need help. Who's going to help? No one's helping them.
Right. She thought I was just doing something so out of control. And I was like, I'm just doing what you guys do. I said, y'all helping a lot of people. So that heart was in me from a long time. That heart was there, but I was still doing wrong.
I always find that fascinating. Like I considered myself a person my whole life, but for years and years and years, like I just did a bunch of wrong stuff. But specific situations, I'm super helpful. I very much care about a person that, is in my circle. And then I go steal a bunch of alcohol or do a graffiti on a building or just stupid stuff, man. It's weird that those two things can exist at the same time, that on one hand, you're doing a lot of bad stuff. You're making a lot of bad decisions. On the other hand, you genuinely care for people and you're helpful. I think that's weird that those two can coexist, but I know they do. You're explaining it now. I've experienced it,
Right. And so that was my journey. If you ask the older like if you see me do wrong, heard of me doing wrong things, the community wouldn't say that. They wouldn't say anything about it. It was like, yo, he's a good kid. Like he helps me. When they see me with my groceries, he just comes and help me. And, and my mom couldn't figure it out. Like, problem.
Yeah. Like everyone likes him. Why he getting in trouble?
Right. Hold up for a second, sir. Kehlani, go shut the door upstairs because I hear. Tell your mother I'm taping. Go ahead. Thank you. Shut the door, please. Thank you. So when that, a lot of people, I wasn't a terror, but I became a terror because I was scared.
Right.
I was scared. I was doing wrong. So I had to be a certain way in the street for protection too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of people say, yo, man, you was wild, man. Yo, man, when I saw you, man, I used to walk across the street.
Huh.
But they didn't know what I was going through. They didn't know that I was hurt. They didn't know I blew a scholarship at CW Post College. They didn't know some things happened to me. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that frame, they didn't know that I was struggling. Think I had health issues. I'm never going to say that about myself. I don't knock what other people deal with. That wasn't my case. I was just
Yeah.
needing some TLC, some tender love and care from somebody that I looked up to, which was my dad. So
Right.
I couldn't get that. So I just went haywire.
Huh.
Haywire. You know what I mean? And
Right.
today, he never knew. He never knew. He passed on 2 years ago. But one thing I was able to do that I thank God for, I was able to make amends with my mom and my dad. But
That's great.
but I repented to God first and foremost, and I made amends with me first. Then
Yeah.
I was able to go to my mom and my dad and say, listen, I didn't say I was sorry because I wasn't sorry for nothing. I told them I apologize. I said, listen, I know I put you guys through some mental anguish. I know you guys sometimes probably had sleepless nights. I was very selfish. Can you forgive me? And they did. And they
Nice.
did. So that released me, you know?
Yeah, that's a
From-
great feeling. It's
right,
liberating, right?
right. And if I can encourage anybody, make sure you make amends with yourself first.
That's
Not
hard. Self-forgiveness. I struggle with that so much, just forgiving, myself for the things that I've done to where like my wife and my mom, my parents, they that I'm too hard on myself about everything, and I am, but it's hard for me to let that go and forgive myself for things that I've done. I'm still working on it. I haven't got to that point yet,
right.
you know?
I'm there because I can't afford to hold in my head, when God is not holding anything over my head. If you
Right.
understand that he forgives, he said, throw your stuff in the sea of forgetfulness and he will remember it no more. So why am I still remembering that stuff? Now, I don't think it'll ever go anywhere, but I use it for ammunition for the work that I do.
Right.
Whenever there's something hard that I'm dealing with, I'm trying to help somebody, I go in my toolbox.
Yeah. And there's a good that I think helping someone therapeutic too. Maybe I need to do more of that. I have noticed that like when I'm actively doing something for somebody else, when I'm not getting anything for it, I feel incredible for that.
For sure.
That's therapeutic for me.
For sure. And that's going to get paid to do chaplaincy.
Yeah.
Because I feel if I got paid, my gift that God has placed in me down.
Right. You got spiritual currency coming your way for that stuff.
Right. So, okay, I can, if I wanted to right now, I could go back to school. I got certifications equivalent to a doctorate degree, but I can take my thesis. All I had to do is to do a few classes, masters, get my master's, and do whatever, and do a thesis. I can do that with my eyes closed, but God is not leading me to do that. He's saying, no, whatever you got what you need already. Just go forth. Because I was this close to going back to school to get a paycheck. And
Right.
God was like, no. And I'm glad I got a wife that understands. She's like, you don't need any more education. She said, you got so much stuff. Why would you even waste time to do that? Just
Right.
keep doing what you're doing. And for a while, my parents, my family, they were like, yo, you're stupid. You got all this education. You can make $80,000 a year. But what would profit a man, all the riches in the world or whatever, and then in the end lose your soul because you're doing it for money?
Right.
So I took the high roll, the low roll, I'm going to say, which is to go up in God, you got to go down.
Yeah.
To go in, you have to be set apart. And God set me apart. So even to this day, sometimes this walk is a little lonely.
Yeah.
Because people treat you like you think you know everything. Oh, you can quote this. I said about quoting, it's not about talking, it's about walking it.
Right.
And it doesn't feel good all the time. God's way of doing things does not feel good most of the time.
Right.
Yeah, because what it does, you have to die to your flesh. You have to die to yourself. So to help someone, you almost have to be like a mirror. You have to project. You have to be moving so they can see you moving. Because talking, everybody got podcasts today.
Right.
Everybody's doing this. Everybody's talking, but who's walking?
Right.
Because as we do podcasts, people are dying.
That's right.
And the earth is the manifestations of God. And the sons is not the one, the chosen ones. You know who the chosen ones are?
All of
Who,
us.
who shows up.
Oh, right.
Because you can say you're chosen, but what are you doing? Because you're going to get judged based on your ability to understand that you have a position, you have a purpose. What is your purpose? What is your destiny? I'm walking in my destiny right now. Every day I get up in the morning, I'm walking in my destiny. I'm looking to help someone the best way I know how to help them. And that's being honest with myself. First, you gotta, because to be honest with yourself, when you're honest with yourself, then you can be honest with anybody. I don't have a problem with telling somebody I smoke crack cocaine. I don't glorify that, but I let them know. Like the guys was talking to me last night. I was talking to them. I've been clean for 34 years, but I'm one decision away from being unclean.
Right. Right.
Right. So, and then it have to be drugs. Doesn't have to be prison. I can have stinking thinking.
Yeah.
I can be double-minded. And the word it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So when you're contradicting what God is telling you to do, you're double-minded.
Right.
Right.
I have a lot of trouble deciphering. Like, I believe that every day I get up, I'm walking God's path. And every day I pray for God to show me what his path is for me, to help me to serve him the best and to serve my family as best I can.
Right.
And I think I'm walking the path, but I have a lot of, I still struggle with a lot of doubt in my head about the things that I'm doing. But I keep pushing forward through it just because I do believe that this is what I'm supposed to do,
Right. And and one thing people, man, ask reveal himself to you. Most people say, my daughter's like, I don't got that. I don't say, just keep asking God to reveal himself to you. He said, if you lack wisdom, ask me, I'll give you wisdom. He said, if you have not, because you ask not. And in the street terminology is a closed mouth will never get fed.
That's true.
Right?
I made a video around a quote from it says like, keep on knocking and the door shall open, keep asking. And I don't know the quote by heart, but do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, knock. You should, of course. You have to continue to God to open. But but here's the deal. He also knocks on your heart for you to open and let him in. A lot of times it's always we want from God. What are you willing to give God?
Right.
You know what I mean? Are you willing to give him? Are you willing to sacrifice some time for him? Because a lot of times people, I like it like this. They seek his hands, not his face.
For a handout?
Right. They beg, but they won't seek his counsel because if you're doing wrong, he's going to say no. And sometimes people don't like to hear no. They don't really understand that delay don't mean denied.
Right.
Sometimes
yeah, when I pray, I don't try to pray for specific things like, please give me $3,000 by next Friday. I started, maybe a year or two ago, I started praying for, show me the path that I'm walk today. Lead me in your presence with what I'm going to do today. Or, if I'm having trouble with a specific thing, pray about that thing, but not for him to just fix it. Just show me how I can overcome this,
Right. Because there's some things that do rather than God doing it, because he's a spiritual being.
Yeah.
We have to do things in the natural that are responsible for. God is not responsible for you feeling some way. You are responsible for that.
Right.
He's telling you don't receive it. If it's coming your way, deal with it, and then I'll add my super on your natural and make it a supernatural experience.
I like that.
But you still have to do your job. You still have to do you, because I've ordained you. If you are part of if you, in Genesis 1:26, we were made in God's image and his likeness. So we were made in his image. We're just little G's on this earth.
Right. So
we can speak things out of our mouth and it will come to pass. It's energy. It's all energy. Whatever
Yeah.
energy you have, that's what you pull to you,
That makes
right?
sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
God is not a man. Listen, God is not a magician. A lot of people, here's the deal. A lot of people always ask God why. You know what God is saying? Why not?
Right.
Because I'll
Yeah.
use that situation. I use the Apostle Paul situation. I use Moses situation. I use David's situation. I use Joseph's
Cain and
situation.
Abel.
All of that. Those situations. So when you say, God, why this had to happen to me? He says, why not?
Yeah.
Just like the
And
three.
always, like, when God's putting it, me specifically, when I'm through like a hard time, I used to question God why, but now I kind of accept it. Like, all right, I know this is me something, you know. And then after that situation, I always end up thanking God
Right.
for that. Like, thank you for getting me through that, and you know, this is what I learned from that, and I appreciate that. I have a lot of
Right. Because,
gratitude.
right.
Yeah.
Because you mature, you start maturing because a lot of times, a lot of people lack maturity. You know what I
Right.
mean? You lack maturity.
Why is
So
this happening to me? This is
right,
happening to
because
me. Yeah.
look at Jesus, right? We say we follow with right. A
Yeah.
lot of the old church will tell you question God, right?
Right.
And they put fear in you. Don't question God. My mom knew, don't you better not question God. Till I found out for myself, study to show yourself approved. Once I started reading the Bible for myself and I started studying, I found out that Jesus questioned God on the cross. He said,
Right.
Father, why
Why
hast
have
thou
you forsaken?
forsaken me?
Yeah.
And then he said, nevertheless, not my
That's
will.
an important lesson. I never thought about that. That's an important distinction. I never thought of that. He questioned God.
He died with a question. He didn't die with an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, why? But God,
Hmm.
then he had to flip it because God wasn't going to change his mind.
Right.
So Jesus had to flip it and say, nevertheless, I'm still going to trust you that
Yeah.
you're God. So that's what we have to do. We have to
And
trust the
sure enough, a
process.
couple days later, he crawled out of a cave. Right.
Come on, but so we're saying we have to trust the process then.
Trust the process.
Trust the
Absolutely.
process.
That's a beautiful sentiment.
Right. Trust the process because, he's not a man that he should lie. Promised you something is in your heart and in your soul. It's going to happen, but it's up to you to line up,
Right.
not vertically, but not horizontally, but vertically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, shoot, man. We've been talking for 46 minutes. We didn't even talk about your book yet. I suppose we should talk about the book. I really enjoy talking to you, though. We should do this
Okay.
again.
Good, good. Well, the book is doing a lot of good things right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about, what's the name of the book?
The name of my book is The Millionaire's Brother.
Okay.
And what's so powerful about The Millionaire's Brother, people want to know who's the millionaire.
Right.
So, but if you look at the book on the front cover, which you got one,
Yeah,
is
I got you.
you have to look at not the millionaire's brother, but the subtitle of the million. You see, brother, that's in red, right? And
Yeah.
then what's under that is probably the most meat about the book, overcoming the addictions of life.
That's a strong title. And I want to tell you, thank you for the book. It was a really good read. It was a really good book. I enjoyed the story. I connected with you. I mean, that's why I asked you on the podcast. Felt connected to you during the read. You write very well as well. The storytelling was incredible. I really enjoyed the story.
Right, I appreciate it. It's raw. A lot of people say, when you telling a story of a biography, you got to tell the truth, man. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
Because God knows lying or not, so why are you going to fool the people? You can't fool God or yourself, so why are you fooling people? Because
Right.
the more raw the book is, the more people going to say, wow, I recognize that because I used to be there.
Yeah.
That's what the book is written for someone else. It's not written for me. I've been through that
Right.
already. So now I'm trying to enlighten people like, whoa, this is who I am. Do you recognize you now? It
Right.
needs to be a mirror.
That's exactly like why I started my media company and this particular. I was I was recording earlier today with another gentleman, and he had the same message. It's storytelling. It's identifying with somebody else's story. Because the reason I was able to quit drinking and doing drugs, and I didn't believe that I could at all. Like, I was too hooked at the time. Is I was in an AA meeting, not my first one. I had been to a few, just desperately trying to quit. And what I was telling this guy on my podcast earlier is that I heard someone share something inside this meeting, and his story sounded, he was telling my story,
Right.
you know, and it was coming from somebody else. And when it clicked with me, I was like, huh, why, how is this guy saying everything that I've through, every feeling that I'm having, all the emotions that I've been going through? How is this other person that I've never met before telling my exact story? And I made the connection. I'm like, all right, that is weird. I didn't believe in God. I used to be an atheist back then. And this is kind of how I ended up believing in God, because it happened when I was so desperate. Somebody told my story. I connected with the story and then ended up connecting with that person on a personal level. And then, you know, the connection was, you know, these stories can lives like this he went through made me connect with him. And then, you know, gave me some motivation in my head. Like he was more sober than I was at the time. He had a few years under his belt, and I was like, that guy went through exactly what I went through, and he's sober. I want to know how he did that. You know what I mean? So it gets me aligned in a direction that I can start putting together some positivity. And then, you know, if I have a story, if I someone who knows, especially on a podcast, if thousands and thousands of people are listening to it, someone I'm going to say something that someone connects with, and they're
Right.
going to be like, huh, you, and you too. I mean, everything in your book, but with so much of the struggle, the pain, the the feeling of doing, not really doing wrong, but I liked making trouble, not getting in trouble, but I liked stealing. I like doing graffiti, doing
Mischief.
drugs,
Just
drinking, mischief.
mischief.
Yes, mischief.
Right.
Word.
So one thing I would love to leave the people with before we get up out of here is that
Mm-hmm.
God is not a respecter of person. He's respect of faith. And faith
I
without
love
works
that.
is dead. Without
Right.
faith, you have nothing. I don't care what type of work you do, how long you work, how hard you work. Without faith, you can't please God.
Right.
God don't want your works, he wants your faith. Right?
And how do you go about, if you're not a faithful person, how do you go about creating faith inside of you? How did you
Well,
do it?
well, faith pretty much is based on, hold up for a second.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is all lined up with God. I write stuff down.
Yeah.
Let me find this thing here. It's not showing when faith is not showing when you got everything. Faith is really present when you have nothing.
Hmm.
See what I'm
That's so
saying?
true.
Right. So when you have everything, you don't need faith.
Yeah.
But when you're at your wit's end, or you don't know when that mortgage needs to be paid, and you know your money, you just got it out. You don't have money. You either gonna stress out, or you're gonna have faith that God is gonna bring it some kind of way. When your faith is activating, God starts moving things around for you. And then it's not a coincidence that when it shows up, right?
Yeah,
Even if
right.
it
I wanted to tell a story of that experience exactly, like how my faith works. The other day, that kind of scenario happened. So I needed to get new tires for months now, and
right,
both of my tires I have to put air in my tires every day just to get to work. And this one day, it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I went out to I left for work. I had to fill my tire up. It was almost flat, and then I got to work. And when I got out of work at 2:30 in the morning, the tire was almost flat. It was almost all the way flat to where I would have to drive on the rim. But it had like 8 pounds of pressure in it. So I was like, man, there's no one to call at 2:30 in the morning that can help me.
right.
And and I was 6 miles away from the gas station to get air. And so I was driving there, and I was tense, you know, like tense, like, man, I'm somewhere. Get to this gas station, and there's no air pump there. And I'm like, oh, and the nearest gas station from there is another 6 or 8 miles, something like that. And I have to drive on the freeway on mostly a flat tire. And I'm just praying that, you know, the 8 pounds of pressure will get me to the next gas station. And when I left the first gas station, I was kind of like, you know what? God will get me. Like I knew it in my heart. I stopped. I was like, all right, just go slow and get to the gas station. Like I knew, I had faith that God would get me there,
Right.
and it happened. You know what I mean? And then the next day, I was able to get some. I didn't have any money either. I didn't, and I needed to get new tires so I get to work the next day, and I didn't know what I was gonna do, and some things fell in line to where I got that money first thing that morning in time to go get myself new tires. So, faith, just having it is hard sometimes, but helped me out a couple days ago. Like just having
Well,
faith in God,
well, here's the deal too. A lot of lose faith or don't build their faith up because they think God is a magician.
Right.
And really, God, He'll allow things, He'll teach you things in your waiting. But also, if it doesn't happen, then what should come to mind is a few things that didn't happen. And I had faith, but He said all you have to have is faith as small as a mustard seed. That's small.
Right.
So, but if you don't have that, God is saying, well, you have poor planning in your life.
Yeah.
Because you knew, at some point with tire, you knew your tire was going flat. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we wait too long sometimes, and then we want God to activate things.
All of a sudden, fix it. I screwed up.
I screwed up, but sometimes He
Yeah.
lets you sit in. He'll let you sit in that to teach you a lesson.
Right.
You know what I mean? He'll let you do that, and so that's when people say, "Oh man, I don't believe in God." No, pretty soon you're gonna either believe or you're not. So
Yeah.
this is what I was telling the men last day. Your life is the punchline to somebody's breakthrough.
Ooh, that's good.
Just what we were just talking about.
That's a good one, man.
The story is going to help the next person. Is the punchline to somebody else's breakthrough. Because really, if God blesses you, He blesses you to be a blessing.
Right.
If you already blessed, you don't need them. You blessed already.
And you can't keep it unless you give it away, right?
You got to pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
So most people are like, nah, man, no. But who are you blessing?
Right.
If you're not blessing anybody, you're really not blessed.
Right. You're selfish.
Right. Very selfish. Self-centered. Yeah. And then we got to work on this that we have in life. We have to be careful on who we vent to.
Right.
Because
absolutely.
Be careful who you vent to, because vents go to other rooms.
Yep, that's true. That's a good one too. Chaplain James got all the sayings, man.
Come on, man. Come on.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. This is what I do, though. Yeah. I'm an avid reader. I know cut the television off. A lot of that tell a lot to your vision anyway.
Right.
So at the end of the day, and it's repeated stuff that you watch and you're bored. But I've learned how to, if the TV and technology drop right now, I'll read.
Yeah. Yep. I read a lot too. I like reading.
Right. And it's good because it keeps your vocabulary, and then you read other people's stories, a lot of other people's stuff. And I read the Bible, it's other people's stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So, yeah, man.
Well, James, this is a really good conversation. I hope we can do it again in the future, man. I really appreciate you.
For sure. For sure.
And then visitor or listeners, you guys can go to Amazon, right? And your website?
Amazon, go to my website, www.millionairesbrother.com. It's on Amazon. Get your copy. But I'm going to tell you like this. If you go to Amazon, there's nothing wrong with going to Amazon, but you can't get an autographed copy.
Ooh, go to the website, guys. Go to the website.
millionairesbrother.com. You get a copy. You get the book in 3 days.
And I'll give a personal testimonial to the book. I was fascinated by the story. I read it in, I think, 3 days or 2 or 3 days. I read it really quickly because the story was very engaging and I connected with your story a lot. So this is a good book, really good, well written. The stories were all very genuine, very heartfelt, vulnerable. I really enjoyed it. So you guys get out on Amazon or go check it out at themillionairesbrother.com. And if you don't want a signed copy, go to Amazon.com. Are you on social media anywhere?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I got a YouTube page. I'm working out right now. Plus, I have a semi podcast, not fully yet. We're working on it. Chaplain James is called Marketplace Ministries. I'm normally on Monday nights and Friday nights, 7:00 Central Time, and it's really an hour of power.
Nice.
You know what I mean? We talk about a lot of things in the community because I'm community based. You know what I mean? Because without unity, there's no community anyway, because that's the root word of community. I really try to cover community because our communities are really hurting right now. And we have churches on every corner. For whatever reason, it's not reaching these communities.
Right.
So we have to speak to our communities and encourage and empower them to do not forsake the assembly. I'm not telling you not to go to church, but understand we are the church. We are the body of Christ. Not that building, that's for fellowship, but you must be fellowshipping at home. That's your first church. That's your first ministry. Pay your tithes to your first church, which is you.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't look outside of what you're supposed to be doing inside. If you're giving all that power to outside, then inside is suffering. And charity starts at home.
I love that.
Right?
All right, brother. Thank you for doing the podcast again. Thanks for recording it due to the technical difficulties we had the first time.
Anytime, my brother.
Let's stay connected. Let's connect it. I want to do this again. I really enjoyed that conversation for real. I'd like to have more if we can.
Right.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Almost Above Average with Chris McIntyre. We were truly honored to have Chaplain Anthony James join us today. From a troubled youth to a successful author and a businessman, Anthony's journey is nothing short of miraculous. His inspiring stories remind us that no matter the challenges we face, we all have the power to rewrite our own narratives. If you found this conversation as compelling as we did, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and share incredible stories like Anthony's. And don't forget to share this episode with friends and family who might benefit from Anthony's wisdom and insights. Join us next time for more inspiring conversations that encourage you to embrace the true self and pursue your dreams. Until then, keep striving for greatness, and remember, you're almost above average.